somewhere in your city, right now, there is a television sitting in a showroom under perfect lighting, showing you a demo reel that was picked specifically because it makes that screen look unbeatable. And in 18 months, that exact television is going to be the reason someone is back in that same store, quietly asking why their amazing deal looks worse than the day they bought it. Here's the thing nobody at that counter is going to say out loud. The television that wins the showroom almost never wins your living room. Not over a year. Not over 5 years. Not over 10. So today, we're doing something the sales floor will never do for you. We're taking the 4 display technologies fighting for your money right now, basic LED, OLED, QLED, and mini LED, and we're ranking them purely on one question. Which one is still going to look good long after the receipt is a memory? Not which one photographs best in a YouTube thumbnail. Not which one has the flashiest name on the box. Which one survives your living room, your habits, and your budget. I don't work for any of these brands. Nobody paid to be ranked higher on this list. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly which screen deserves your money and which one is quietly designed to send you shopping again sooner than you think. Let's start at the bottom, with the television most people actually walk out of the store carrying. The trap tier, basic LED/CD. Before we even get to the 3 real contenders, we need to talk about the television that isn't even really in this competition, because it's the one most people accidentally buy anyway. This is the plain, edge-lit LED LCD. No quantum dots, no local dimming zones, no organic pixels. Just a flat panel with a strip of lights crammed along the edges, aimed inward, and diffused across the screen as evenly as cheap engineering allows, which is to say, not very evenly at all. Here's what nobody tells you about this category. It isn't just that the picture is mediocre on day one. It's that the components inside it are built to a price, not to a lifespan. The backlight strips are thinner. The driver boards are cheaper. The panel itself is often a lower manufacturing grade that didn't make the cut for the premium lines. So what actually happens to these sets over time? By year 2 or 3, you start noticing things you didn't notice at first, a faint brighter patch in one corner. A dimming panel that makes everything look slightly washed out. Uneven brightness across the screen that makes dark scenes look blotchy instead of black. None of this happens overnight. It creeps in slowly enough that you adjust to it without realizing your picture has quietly degraded. Here's a simple test you can use in any store right now on your phone. If a television is dramatically cheaper than everything else its size, and the box doesn't say OLED, QLED, or mini LED anywhere on it, not in small print, not on a sticker, nowhere that is almost certainly this category. Treat that price tag as a warning label, not a discount. Quick gut check before we move on. Do you actually know which category the TV in your living room belongs to right now? Drop it in the comments. OLED, QLED, mini LED, or no idea. You'd be surprised how many people have owned their television for 3 years and genuinely can't answer that question. Everything from here forward is a real technology, built to last. So let's rank the 3 you're actually choosing between. The most beautiful, most fragile, OLED. Let's start with the one that wins every single demo it's ever put into, OLED. I want to be completely fair here, because OLED earns every bit of its reputation. Every single pixel on an OLED panel produces its own light. When a pixel needs to be black, it simply switches off completely, not dimmed, not approximated, off. That means a night scene in a movie isn't dark gray pretending to be black. It's actual, true black, sitting right next to blinding highlights in the same frame. No other display technology on this list can do that. In a dark room, nothing touches it. If picture quality were the only variable that mattered, this video would already be over. But we're not ranking best demo. We're ranking best decade. And that's where OLED's real story starts, the part the showroom conveniently skips. Because every pixel is an individual organic light source doing its own work, those pixels age as they're used. And they don't all age at the same rate. If you leave the same content on screen for hours at a time, a 24-hour news channel with a permanent ticker at the bottom, a sports score bug that never moves, a channel logo sitting in the same corner day after day, those static elements can, over months and years, burn a faint permanent shadow into the panel. It's called ED burn-in, and once it's there for good. No software update fixes it. Now, to be fair to the engineers, modern OLED panels fight this aggressively. They nudge the entire image a few pixels at a time so nothing sits in the exact same spot too long. They automatically dim static logos. They run pixel refresh cycles overnight to even out the wear. For someone who watches a healthy rotation of movies, streaming shows, and varied content, an OLED can genuinely go years without a hint of a problem. But be honest with yourself about how your household actually uses a television. If your set is tuned to the same news channel for 6 hours a day with a bright, unmoving ticker running the entire time, you are asking the one technology on this list that is specifically vulnerable to static images to endure exactly that every single day for years. And there's a second issue that compounds this. OLED panels gradually dim as they age, and OLED is already the dimmest of the three technologies in a bright sunlit room. So the panel with the most beautiful blacks in the dark is also the one most likely to struggle in daylight, and it only gets dimmer from there. Now let's talk about the money, because this is where the mismatch really stings. OLED is usually the most expensive option on the wall, sometimes close to double the price of an equally sized set in another category. When you pay a premium like that, you're paying it because you expect to enjoy that picture for a long time. But the longer you own an OLED, the more time its two weak points, slow dimming, and potential burn-in have to actually show up. Which means it's entirely possible to spend the most money in the store on the television with the shortest worry-free lifespan for your specific viewing habits. That's not a flaw in the technology. It's a mismatch between marketing and reality that nobody points out before you swipe your card. So who is OLED actually right for? Buy it if you watch a genuine mix of content. You can keep the room reasonably dim, and you're the type of person who will actually use the burn-in protection settings without being told twice. Skip it if your television lives on one news channel all day, or your living room has big windows and gets flooded with afternoon sun. In that home, you'd be paying the highest price in the store for the technology least suited to how you actually watch. Quick, honest question for you. How many hours a day is your TV really sitting on one channel with a logo or ticker in the same spot? Type the number in the comments. If it's more than a couple of hours daily, keep that number in mind because it's about to steer you toward a very different pick. The workhorse, QLED number 2 on our list, and this is where the story flips from most beautiful to most dependable QLED. QLED isn't a separate display technology the way OLED is. It's a very good version of an LED LCD television with one key addition. A layer of microscopic quantum dots sitting in front of the backlight, which refine the light passing through into richer, more accurate color and higher peak brightness. Here's the part that actually matters for this ranking. Because the light in a QLED comes from a bank of conventional LED backlights, not from millions of individually aging organic pixels a QLED physically cannot burn in. You could leave the same news channel on with the same logo in the same corner for the next decade. And the panel will not develop a ghost image. It's not a matter of good habits. It's not possible with this architecture. Those backlight arrays are also rated for a genuinely long service life. We're talking tens of thousands of hours before you'd notice any meaningful drop in brightness, which translates to well over a decade of normal daily use. And unlike OLED, QLED brightness holds up far more consistently over time, while also starting from a much higher baseline, which means a sunlit living room that would wash out an OLED barely troubles a QLED at all. The honest trade-off is in the dark. A QLED can't switch individual pixels fully off, so in a pitch-black room, a true black scene will look slightly more like a very dark gray than OLED's absolute black. In a normally lit living room, watching normal content, most people will genuinely never notice this difference. What they get in exchange is a bright, colorful, tough television that doesn't care how you actually use it. And there's a psychological benefit that grows more valuable the longer you own the TV. You never have to think about it. No babysitting settings. No rotating what channel you watch to protect the panel. No quiet anxiety that leaving the news on all weekend is damaging an expensive investment. It turns on, it works, and it keeps working the way a television is supposed to. Who is QLED for? Almost anyone who wants a genuinely excellent picture that can survive a decade of real, unfiltered, real-world use in any room with zero burn-in risk. Skip it only if you're a dark room purist who will notice and be bothered by the difference between QLED's near black and OLED's true black. This is the safe, durable, sensible choice. And it typically costs meaningfully less than an equivalent OLED, which brings us to the technology that, when you weigh picture quality against actual longevity, comes out on top. The longevity winner, Mini LED. Here's the simplest way to think about Mini LED. It's what happens when a QLED grows up. It's still fundamentally an LED LCD television, which means it keeps QLED's core advantage, no burn-in risk, and that same long-lived LED backlight technology. But instead of a handful of large backlights zones, Mini LED packs thousands of dramatically smaller LEDs behind the panel, organized into dozens or even hundreds of independently controlled ED dimming zones. What that buys you is deep, control LED blacks that get remarkably close to OLED territory, combined with searing peak brightness that beats everything else on this list in a sunlit room, all built on the same tough, durable, burn-in-proof LED foundation that makes QLED so worry-free. This is, for most households, the best of both worlds. You're getting picture quality that closes most of the gap to OLED, paired with the lifespan and daylight performance of the best LED technology available. So why does Mini LED actually win this ranking and not just get Phi LED as a fancier QLED? Because it delivers genuinely premium picture quality without asking you to take on OLED's single biggest long-term risk, and without leaving you squinting in a bright room the way OLED can. You're not trading durability for beauty, or beauty for durability. You keep both. And the gap has closed faster than most people realize. A few years ago, getting deep blacks and a punchy, bright picture meant paying OLED-level prices. There was no alternative. Then, Mini LED arrived, packing hundreds of tiny, independently dimmed zones behind an ordinary, tough LED panel. And suddenly, most of that premium magic became available on the durable side of the fence. One number is worth remembering if you're comparing two Mini LED sets against each other: the dimming zone count. More zones means finer control over light and dark, which means blacks that get closer to OLED. That number matters far more than resolution specs on the box. And because Mini LED is built on mature, mass-produced LED manufacturing, rather than the more delicate organic pixel process, prices have dropped hard. A large Mini LED today frequently costs a fraction of what an equivalently sized OLED does, which means you're not paying a premium for the durable choice. You're paying less and getting more of it. That's genuinely rare in electronics, where the tougher option is usually the pricier one. Who should skip Mini LED? Honestly, almost nobody, unless you're specifically the darkroom purist chasing OLED's absolute perfect black, and you're willing to actively protect the panel to get it. For everyone else watching this video, this is the answer. Be honest with me for a second after everything we've just covered. Has your pick changed? Drop one word in the comments: OLED, QLED, or Mini LED. I actually read these, and I'm curious how many people this flips. The real numbers. Before we get into buying advice, let's put actual numbers on the word lasts, because this is the part people ask about constantly, and the honest answer is reassuring in one direction and a little sobering in the other. A quality LED-based backlight, the kind inside your QLED or Mini LED, is typically rated to run somewhere in the range of 60 to 100,000 hours before it drops to half its original brightness. even at 8 hours of daily use, every single day. That's well over 20 years before the backlight itself becomes a genuine problem. On a good LED-based television, the light source will almost never be the reason it dies. An OLED panel carries a comparable hours rating on paper. But the critical difference is that its real-world limit isn't just a clock ticking down, it's a direct function of what you put on the screen, not merely how long the television runs. Two identical OLED panels, one watching varied streaming content and one glued to a 24-hour news ticker, can age at completely different rates. So here's the honest headline. A cheap edge-lit LED set has its short life decided for you by the cheap parts inside it. A good LED base set QLED or mini LED will very likely outlast your interest in owning it. And an OLED has a genuinely excellent lifespan too, but a meaningful part of that outcome is decided by you and how you actually watch. That single distinction is the entire reason this ranking lands the way it does. The quick decision cheat sheet ad at this point, you've got all the theory. So let's make this stupidly practical. I'm going to run through the most common living room situations people message me about and tell you exactly which technology wins in that specific case. No hedging, small apartment, one main TV, mixed streaming habits. This is the easiest call on the list, Mini LED. You get near old picture quality, zero burn-in anxiety, and it'll handle whatever room you move it to next without missing a beat. Bright living room, big windows, TV faces the afternoon sun. Don't even consider old here, no matter how good it looked in the store. Go QLED or Mini LED, whichever fits your budget, because a dim panel fighting sunlight is a losing battle you'll fight every single day. Dedicated home theater, blackout curtains, movie nights. This is the one scenario where OLED genuinely deserves the premium. You've built the exact environment its strengths were designed for. Use it. News runs in the background most of the day. Sports ticker on weekends. Skip old entirely, even if you love the picture. This is the textbook burn in scenario the technology is least equipped for. QLED or Mini LED, no debate. Gaming first household. Console or PC hooked up daily. Static HUDs, health bars, and mini-maps that sit in the same corner for hours are burn-in's favorite target. Unless you're committed to pixel shift settings and varied content, Mini LED is the safer long-term choice here too. Tight budget. Just need something reliable for years. A mid-range Mini LED will outsurvive a premium OLED bought on a stretched budget every time. Longevity doesn't require the biggest number on the price tag. Notice the pattern? In almost every real household scenario, Mini LED is the answer that lets you stop thinking about the decision entirely. OLED only wins in the one narrow, controlled situation most homes don't actually have. If you just heard your exact situation in that list, tell me which one in the comments. I want to see how many of you are sitting in the should-have bought Mini LED category right now. Closing so, here's the full ranking, based on what actually holds up over a decade, not what wins a 5-minute demo. Walk straight past the basic edge-lit sets they're built to fade fast, and the price tag is the only thing about them that looks good. OLED is the most beautiful television you can buy, and the most demanding a dark room masterpiece with one real long-term risk that depends entirely on you. QLED is the tough, bright, zero-worry option that will take anything you throw at it for years without complaint. And Mini LED is the one that hands you almost everything at once, the picture and the lifespan together for meaningfully less money than the technology it's chasing. The most beautiful television on the showroom floor is not always the one still looking beautiful in 10 years. Now you know exactly which one actually is. If this just saved you from buying the wrong technology for the next decade, that's your cue to hit like before you go and subscribe. Because that's the only signal that tells the algorithm to put this in front of the next person standing in a store about to trust a price tag instead of the facts. Costs you nothing, and it's genuinely the only reason this channel keeps growing. Coming up next, the exact televisions worth buying in 2026. One for every technology and every budget. Named specifically so you walk into the store already knowing exactly which model to point at.